With all the big calls on all the big races, it's time for another What a Shout, Racing Post flagship weekend feature show brought to you every Friday morning. Good Friday to you out there. Dave Orton back in the chair as ever. Really good panel. Cannot wait to get into this weekend's action. A little bit of something for everyone. Again, whether you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, Facebook Live, or indeed anything on Twitter, it's hashtag What a Shout. Brought to you with our sponsors, Bet365. Paul Kealy joins me back in the studio. Keels, obviously we can tell what you're doing this afternoon. You can tell the country's opening up a little bit, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, back out for another game of golf. Can't wait, but it's got cold, isn't it? I mean,
You caught the sun, Keels, again.
Yeah, it was lovely on Tuesday. I catch the sun massively anyway. I'm looking at the state of my Uta.
Did you get straight out? Did you get straight out and play 18 then?
I played 18 Monday. I played 18 Tuesday, and I'm
Just catching up.
out again. Yeah.
Because you had a nice week off after
I
Cheltenham.
mean, I'm crap, but I mean, I like to go out there.
That really doesn't matter. It's a good walk, if nothing else, isn't it? Let's go to our sponsors once again. Pat Cooney joins us from his home office. Pat, welcome along.
Yes, looking forward to a good show and a good weekend, hopefully.
Thank you, Pat. And who have we got for you this weekend, guest-wise? We've trawled the racing world and delighted to say more pictures on his wall than Pat Cooney. Lambourne legend Mick Fitzgerald joins us on the show. There he is, Fitzy.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Keels.
How you doing,
Hi,
Fitz?
Pat.
You all right?
Good morning.
We're all absolutely fantastic. Now, most of you will, of course, know Fitzy, of course, from being a leading Sky pundit, integral part of the terrestrial TV team as well. But he used to be one of the greatest jump jockeys around. We'll get into all of that. You know, of course, the panel. Last time you saw Keels, I believe there was a bit of an incident as well, wasn't there, Mick?
Yeah. I haven't seen him to hand in the dry cleaning bill for the Guinness that he managed to spill on my suit. And the last time there was actually crowds at Cheltenham.
We were doing a panel. At in the Racing Breaks lounge, and it was like first thing. And I am not joking you. I doused him in a pint of Guinness. There wasn't even a drop on the floor. He got the lot. And it was about half an hour before he was due to go on ITV.
I'd suggest you're more dangerous.
You will never see anybody take something like that as well as he did. Well, he had much choice.
Well, by the end of the show, you'll work out why that is. Definitely one of the nicest blokes in racing, Fitzy. But I'd imagine you're more dangerous when you're sober with a pint, which is obviously borne out.
Sober, yeah.
And I wondered why Mick was so keen to come on the show. Now he's going to get a dry cleaning bill, of course.
Plus the fact he's nowhere near me as well, which helps.
Fitzy, of course, you've been riding, I don't know, when did you give up? It was 2008, Fitzy, wasn't it? So our database, basically, Fitzy, goes back to 1998. And up on screen now, let's get these graphics of these wonderful, wonderful memory horses for us. Horses that you rode by Racing Post ratings in this order. Actually, Neptune Collonge on top. That was when you were third, of course, to Courtone Denman in perhaps the Gold Cup of Gold Cups. But there are some wonderful names on there. A personal favourite, Mick, of mine was Bacchanal. When you won that Stayers Hurdle, was it 2000? That was a great year. It was a great festival for you and Hendo as well. Nicky Henderson, your old boss. You were two-time leading festival rider as well, Mick, weren't you?
Yeah, look, people always ask, your most memorable achievements. I think winning the Gold Cup on Seymour Business has to go down as one of the ones on a personal note that meant so much to me. You'll see behind me over my left shoulder, I've got a picture hanging on my wall of me coming into the winner's enclosure at Cheltenham. That is like the most hallowed bit of turf in the land as far as I'm concerned. And when you walk in there, having ridden a winner, even if it might only be a small winner, it's still special. And to go in having won a Gold Cup meant an awful lot to me personally. But yeah, Bacchanal was one of the horses that they say, do you have any regrets in your career? Well, definitely him, because he was one of the best horses that I rode. He beat Limestone Lad when he won the Stayers Hurdle. And I finished third in the King George on him a couple of times. And he actually finished third to Best Mate. And Marlborough was second that year. And I had to choose between Marlborough and Bacchanal. And I chose Bacchanal. And Marlborough only got beaten neck by Best Mate. And I can tell you now, like, Bacchanal was in a different league to Marlborough. It just never really happened for him over fences. He just wasn't as fluent a jumper as he probably could have been or should have been. And it was just one of those things where you just, you'd love to have seen him achieve what we knew he was capable of over fences. So that's one that got away. But look, I nicked plenty along the way, so I had a really good run, and I'm very proud of what I've achieved. I was definitely an overachiever. I look at some of those jockeys that are riding now, and I think, they're much better than I ever was. But at the same time, I always believed that I was better than I was. So, can't beat a bit of self-confidence, can you, Keels?
Oh, I've got no idea what you're on about there, mate.
and modesty, of course, which Fitzy is known for. But he's obviously talking complete cobblers there, isn't he? Because when we were younger, and we were watching it, if Fitzy led after the last, that was the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're not getting by him.
It was the best around, particularly at Cheltenham. Fitzgerald, Henderson at Cheltenham, that was it, wasn't it?
Fonmore,
one of my favourite horses of all time,
yeah.
Just brilliant 2.5 mile chase around there. You'd just fly those last 3 fences, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
You must have loved riding Fonmore, Mick, mustn't you?
Yeah, I did. I loved him. There's very rare that you can get horses that you can literally set your clock by. But when you went to Cheltenham, you knew that he was 10 pounds better than he was anywhere else. And I think one of the great, disappointments, really, I rode him in the Grand National Fonmort, and he wouldn't have got the trip in a horse box. But I had a lovely time going around there. I just wish then that the Topham had been opened up to horses rated as high as him, because had it have been open to a horse like him, he would have won the Topham, and they wouldn't have seen which way he went. He was such a good jumper.
That's one of the reasons why the Topham, of course, the Shorter National, as they call it, is such an attractive race. That's going to come up in one of my big calls later on. Of course, you mentioned the National, Mick. We're a week away now from the Aintree Showpiece. Wasn't on last year, but this is 25 years, Mick, since Rough Quest. Of course, 1996, your big winner of the race.
Yeah. It's, you talk about the naivety of youth, but I was absolutely convinced that he was going to win. And you hear some lads say afterwards, it just always felt right. Well, it did. Everything about that day felt right. It was amazing. The night before, I stayed in Haydock with my dad. He came over, and I just thought, it'd be a great bonding experience to be able to share a room with your dad on the night before the National. The only problem was he got very pissed on the night before the National and came in, and I am not joking you, he snored non-stop. And I must have had only about 4 hours sleep.
Fantastic.
And not the ideal preparation to ride the favourite in the National, but it just, the whole race went unbelievably well. And you see those old films of Crisp and Red Rum and, all those side-on shots of the camera alongside the field. And I can remember going to 3 out and thinking, I wonder what I look like on telly, as I'm going down over the third last on Rough Quest. And then suddenly I thought, right, wake up, Muppet. You've got a job to do. And, it really was. It was surreal. But I think one of the most memorable things that ever happened to me was you have to do quite a lot of media after you win the National.
Yes.
I was worried about whether I'd be able to find my dad, because I thought, well, he might get on the lash. And I saw him about 6 o'clock when the place was deserted, and he just looked at me and held his thumb up and said, "You did it." And that was just amazing. And that's a memory that will stay with me forever.
Obviously, the broadcasting giant that was Des Lynam used to stick microphones in people's faces very famously after that race. And he's trumped Pat with the pictures. He's trumped us with pretty much everything in our careers. He's trumped us now with lines as well, Keels, because the better than sex line has to be one of the best lines ever in racing, Mick. And it was yours.
That wasn't planned. I think it was all. I'm blaming the steward's inquiry, which went on for quite a long time. I thought that, having won the world's greatest steeplechase, and then when I went into the steward's room, which, they had an inquiry after the race because I crossed Encore on Po, and every time I watched the video, it just got worse. And I thought, I'm going to be the first jockey ever to win the National and lose it in the steward's room. So it was quite a lot of relief when they announced the result of the inquiry. And then I got whisked straight out to Des. And Des, for any of us of a certain age, Des Lynam is like a half-brother to God. He was just one of those people that you couldn't wait to meet. And I can remember looking into his eyes and thinking, God, you're a lot taller than I thought, than you look on telly. And then he asked me the question, and I just obviously said what I did. But
Yeah.
I don't regret any of it.
Well, you managed to get a book out of the title, Mick, so you did rather well out of it. And of course, it's a big race for you, Mick, because it went full circle, of course, because in 2008 you took a fall at the second, a horrific fall at the second on Lammy's monster of a horse on his day, and that was the end of your career.
Yeah, it was. But, the funny thing is, when I go back to Aintree, I don't think about the fall. I think about the win in the National. And I have very fond memories of Liverpool. The people of Liverpool make the National the race that it is. It is a very special place. And, look, my career had to end sometime. The great thing is that I walked away and, I now get to chat to people like you. So, look, everyone's a winner.
What a result, eh?
What a result. What a result. Absolutely. Yeah, great stuff, Mick. And of course, you've made yourself an extremely successful broadcaster as well. We alluded to your association with Nicky Henderson, unapologetically, by the way, going over Fitz's career, because I know everyone out there will be absolutely loving this chat, and quite rightly so. And it was the stuff of legends, for us that grew up in the noughties watching the racing. Mentioned Baccarat in 2000, the great limestone lad. But your association with Nicky was huge. Obviously, horses like Trabolgan, which won the old Hennessy, kept you back in the saddle after injury, didn't it? And Pat's got a question for you.
Yeah, a nice easy one for you, Fitzy. Mythical race, mythical champion chase. There's 3 runners. They're all trained by Nicky Henderson. Altior, Shishkin, Sprinter Sacre. Who wins? I was thinking of throwing in Remittance Man because you did ride him once, but I just think I'd stick to the 3 recent ones. So Altior, Sprinter Sacre, or Shishkin. Who wins? And they're all at their best.
Altior.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think when he won that Supreme Novices Hurdle, you look back to the form of that race, and are any of the others capable of putting up a performance like that and beating that quality of horse? I just think that he could have gone on and won multiple champion hurdles either. And you can't say that about all of the others. I just think he was a very, very good horse. He still is. And, I'd love to see him bounce back. Look, I don't think he's anywhere near the force that he was. But at the same time, I think on his day, he was nigh on unbeatable.
Let's have a quick word about Shishkin. I mean, that's a bit of a curveball. And viewers, get your selections in. So who would win out of the brilliant 3? We'll ask Gills in a sec. I imagine a lot of people will say Sprinter Sacre, but Shishkin, Mick, can he go on? The comparisons between him and Altior are remarkable, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but very similar profile. He's a very special talent, and one of the great things that he has is the ability to stay. He's the sort of horse I think you could up him and trip and it wouldn't bother him in the slightest. I think the great horses, not just the good horses, but the great horses were capable of winning over a lot of trips. And I think Shishkin can be put into that bracket. A lot of 2-milers maybe don't stay as well, but the great ones did. And I think he's definitely a proper staying 2-miler. And, you look at him a few times and you think, oh, how well is he going? Especially at Kempton when he won that day. He looked like, I wonder how well he's going. And then suddenly it just kicks in. And he's always strongest through the line, which I think always bodes well for the future.
So if you see a horse like Altior just finished second in a Gold Cup, could you see Shishkin ended up in a Gold Cup at some point in his life?
Well, when you see him run, Keels, there's nothing about him that says to you couldn't up him in trip.
Yeah.
I think he's a very special horse. I think they went $1 million in the Arkle, and maybe he was there plenty early enough in the Arkle this year. But I just think Nico knew that he stayed, and he thought, well, look, I don't need to play it clever here. I can just get the race done and dusted, and so it proved.
He doesn't pull himself up or anything, does he? He just does whatever you ask him to do.
Grounds, no issue. Yeah, he's one of the greats, isn't he? Mythical 3, who wins?
At the moment, I'm going to have to disagree with Mick and say Sprinter. I mean, on official ratings, he'd have been best part of a stone better than Altior's chase form.
That is a great Pat Cooney question, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mythical champion
chase.
Yeah,
but can I just tell it, Keels, he never won the Supreme, did he?
No, he was 4th.
No.
McCoy rode him, didn't he?
So Altior was a better hurdler than Sprinter Sacre, but wasn't a better chaser, was he? That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm a massive fan of Altior as well.
Well, absolutely. 19-time winner. Why wouldn't he be a horse of the public? And lots has gone on there. We've said enough about it. Well, what a great debate. What a great chat about Mick's career. Time to move on. Okay, let's have a look at what's coming up on the show. This week's hot topic, Jockey Championship heating up, isn't it? We'll get into that. Mick's views will be imperative for you. We'll also be looking at the racing clues from the last weekend. Ding, ding, all change. Of course, we'll be giving you the big race previews coming your way this weekend, the big calls from the studio panellists, and the all-important weekend winners. If you'd like to sign up to our sponsors, Bet365, when doing so, you can do it with a referral code. Just type in Shout365 on entering. That's a minimum £5 deposit for up to 100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Hot topic time then. Ooh, it's hotting up, isn't it, in the Jumps Jockey Championship. Of course, you remember last year, Brian Hughes crowned champion. This time last year, of course, it was all over, wasn't it? An enforced absence, I think. So it would be harsh on Brian to not win it personally, I think. They're 130 apiece, Keels. Skeltons have done everything they can to get it back up, and it now looks like he might just get over the line, doesn't it?
It does to me, yeah. I mean, I think he's a strong favourite now, and the point being that Harry Skelton is now getting rides from outside yards as well, a lot more than he had been.
Yeah.
And you get that, and he's just going to have too much ammunition. And don't get me wrong, Brian Hughes was a perfectly worthy champion last year, would be a perfectly worthy champion this year, but it looks like he's going to get run out by somebody else who will be a perfectly worthy champion.
Yeah, let's go to Mick on this then. It's a narrative that we love, Mick, isn't it? Of course, it goes up to the big Bet365 meeting at Sandown this month. Of course, first and foremost, Mick, who do you see winning it?
I think it's going to be very hard now for Brian because the Skeltons have such a strong team. And also the fact that, Ollie Murphy has said that, he'll try and support Harry Skelton. Then you have, Harry Cobden looks like he's out of it. So you have to think back to how long Harry Skelton worked for Paul Nicholls. And Dan, of course, was assistant trainer to Paul for a period of time. If he needs him, I think Harry might just go knocking on Paul Nicholls' door and say, look, I could do with him some help here to try and get myself over the line. And I can see Paul helping him. I think it's going to be very difficult for Brian Hughes. He does ride for a lot of trainers up in the north, and they'll be keen to support him. But, it's going to be tough for a lot of them. And, a lot of those lads who are riding in the north, they've had a tough time of it, rides-wise. It won't be as easy for them to say, right, look, it's okay, we'll let Brian ride our horse and let him win on it. It's not going to be straightforward. Richard Hale, who is Brian Hughes' agent, he looks after a lot of the top jockeys in the north, and I think he might be leaning on them a little bit and saying, look, lads, come on, we need your support. And I think quite a few of the lads will help Brian if they can, but it's not going to be as easy for him, I think, he won't have as much support or as many horses to call on as Harry Skelton will.
You alluded in your intro, Mick, to the standard of riding these days. And of course, you are a jockey coach as well, the jockey coach, I think we can say. What about the young lads at the minute then, Mick?
There's a couple of really good lads. Like Danny McMenamin is going to be crowned champion conditional this year, based in the north. Really good rider, just kind of ticked over, taking his time, getting to where he is. I think he's very, very capable. Young Jack Tudor is a lad that I help. He's very, very good. For somebody so young, very strong, rides a good race. There's another young lad based with Warren Greatrex called Caelan Quinn, who's just on the verge of losing his £10 claim. He's a really, really capable young rider, and I think he's definitely one to keep on the right side of. Liam Harrison, based with Fergal O'Brien, he's another really good young lad. Kevin Brogan has been, getting a lot of headlines as well. There is a lot of good young riders, and you look at in Ireland as well. The young man that rode the winner on the shunter at the Cheltenham Festival, he's definitely one. Jordan Gainsford, who's hit the headlines. Like when you get as many rides as he got at the Cheltenham Festival with as little experience as he has, you only get that if you're a particular talent.
You've mentioned him on the show before. Kills, obviously, the shunter to success, but you were nodding along with Fitzy there.
Yeah, Caelan Quinn was one that just came across on my radar a couple of months ago. I backed a couple of horses that had ridden. Neither of them won that I backed, but I just thought he looked very tidy. And just watching on videos before, I thought, well, this lad's still claiming £10, and he doesn't look like anything like a £10 claimer. So he's obviously a fair talent, and he's gonna have his share of winners for sure.
Okay, so a great young crop coming through, says Fitzy. That's great news, isn't it, for the game going forward? Pat, let's bring you in then for the final word on this. Harry Skelton for the money buyers now, I imagine.
Yeah, we're 8-15 him and 11-8 Brian Hughes, as Fitzy says. Cobden's got an awful lot to do now. But it's about momentum, really, isn't it? You look at the Skelton team; they're flying. You pretty much know they're going to run hard to the line in April, and all the horses are so good. I'm just looking at the winners Harry's ridden for Dan. 120 winners from 530 rides, whereas Brian Hughes for Donald McCain, his retained stable, 45 winners from 217. So momentum is with the Skelton team. The horses go on this type of ground. But it only takes a fall, doesn't it? And so it's going to be touch and go. Of course, we'd love it to go to the last day of the season. I remember a few years ago, the Trainers' Championship went to the last day of the year, Paul Nicholls and Willie Mullins. And once Willie Mullins couldn't win, he had Vroom Vroom Rag down in one of our later races. I went up to wish him good luck with Rich Ritchie, and he says he's not running. She's not going to run. She's going to Punchestown next week, and she'll win there instead. So that was good fun on that final day, up until a point, of course.
So it's hotting up. We didn't get it last year. It's going right to the white. May the best jockey win. First, your big race previews. Then let's get some tips from the panellists. And 3:15 is the Stayers Series final. Back over hurdles we go, Kills, at Haydock.
Yeah, Challenger Series Day, the finals. I think it's a very, very good initiative. This has been going a few years now. Decent money for your middle of the road handicappers, your 130s, low 140s. And they've come up with another cracking competitive card. I really like it. And the Stayers hurdle race is the one that's the most competitive, 17 runners. Decent race. I'm quite interested in an Alan King trained mare called Out on Patrol.
Yep.
Who stepped up to 3 mile for the first time last time at Newbury, travelled supremely well into the race, right round the outside, into the straight, got tired. Now, the one argument, it could be that she didn't stay, but it was the first run for nearly 4 months. And I just thought she looked a lot better than her mark there without actually winning. I think she'd get a lot closer to the first and second who were in it. I think that second was I Will Do It. The winner was Regarding Ruth.
Yes.
I think wherever she finishes, it'll be a lot closer to them. Alan King in the weekend has said that she's been, doing well at home since. I think she's got a big run coming in. He said before that he thinks she is a 3-miler.
Yeah.
With ground conditions, on the easy side, but not soft by any stretch of the imagination, it should be perfect.
Yeah, it looks like this will probably have been the big target. After that break, she'll come on for a bit. I've been following the mare as well. She probably does have the odd quirk or two, but I can see that small present heading the market then as well. Mick, have you had a look at this race?
Yeah, I have. Look, the horse of Sue Smith's is favourite here. Small present on the back of a good win at Donny by presenting. I'd be really keen to find out what the ground is. They're saying it's good to soft, but looking at the weather forecast up at Merseyside, there's no rain around, and I can see Haydock drying up, and it only being good ground at best. And I think that might just scupper a few of them. And I think this small present, being by presenting, is a worthy favourite. I just thought Never Been Paris at a big price could run well for Harry Whittington. His horses are in much better form. That ran the Newbury race as well. And I just thought there was a lot to like about, the way this horse finished the race off. I think Alan Doyle taking 7 off. I think this horse is a big price as an each way in here if you don't fancy the shorty and the favourite.
Okay, I like a horse called Silent Assistant for Emma Lavelle, who's probably been everything right. Ground, track, trip, spot on, she'll do for me. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, at the moment, small present heads the market narrowly, I must say, around about 5-1, with Regarding Ruth at 6. And of course, she beat a few of these last time, didn't she? And it's good to have Haydock on good to soft ground. There's no rain forecast tonight or indeed Saturday. So I read during the week they were maybe thinking about watering. So it won't be typical Haydock heavy by any means. So Regarding Ruth has got that decent ground form and was back in business last time. So I wouldn't be surprised if she challenged small present for favouritism. I give a small nod to Republican of Oliver Sherwood. I think that might be a horse that would appreciate the better ground as well, and that's round about 14-1. But as Keeler said, this is a cracking card here all day tomorrow, and this probably is the most fiendish of them all. But I think regarding Ruth, the good ground form, she beat a few of these last time. Maybe she could do for me, but as I say, I'm giving a nod to the Republican at Oliver Sherwood's.
Expect a fierce betting race then, the 3:15 at Haydock. 3:35 up at Musselburgh. Back on the grass we go, on the flat. Really starting to hot up now, of course, just off the back of the Lincoln. We've got a really interesting staying race here. Pat Cooney, give us a market update if you don't mind. Nate the Great, Fav?
Nate the Great is fab. I will say, though, Dave, he's probably clinging on to favouritism. He's been priced up as favourite on the basis, at least he's come out and got good recent form. But you look at this race, again, wide open. Mark Johnson won it last year. And he's got 5 runners this year. They've all got some sort of a chance. Anti-post-wise, a lot of the Shrewies were back in all right sunshine. And you look at his form figures, you think, well, that's pretty miserable form. 5, 8, 9, 0. But he's had 4 races at Musselburgh and he's won all 4, would you believe? I'd just run him here all the time if it was me. But he's been the sexy one that's been backed at fancy prices. For my sins, I think it's wide open. I am a King's Advice fan. This is a horse who won 6 races in a row 2 years ago. He's now rated 97. That's the first time he's dipped under the 100 official ratings. First time visor. Mark Johnson trains. Wouldn't be a surprise if he won, would it? So I quite like him at, say, 10-1. But the All Right Sunshine team, there seems to be plenty of them.
Oh, well, there are indeed 2 of them sitting here in the studio.
Yeah, I'm quite a big fan of the horse. We can't over-egg it too much to 4 from 4 at Musselburgh because 3 of them were egg and spoon races, 2 bumpers and 3 runner race. It was a fair 6-runner handicap as well. But he's travelled really, really well through every race and won every one of them very easily. And the interesting thing for me is he's a 6-year-old. He started life in bumpers. He only went hurdling on the 21st of February this year. He's
not a natural, is he?
Didn't look a natural. I can't believe that. Let's go on a hurdling campaign with him when you're going that late into a season. So the 2 runs there, the second one was disappointing. It's just all about getting him fit for what is a very, very obvious target. And, he'll be as good as he can be. And you've got to remember, he went off, he was 8th at Royal Ascot off a mark of 105. He was 9th in the Ebor off a mark of 104, and he's down to 99 now in what is a much weaker race than those 2 races.
So important, isn't it, to check back the videos from last year? You've alluded to a couple of runs there.
Oh, the Ascot race, yeah.
He was knocked all over the place, wasn't he? So, yeah, and if you go back to some of his old Newton Cup form, he's a very, very good horse on his day. You've taken some of the fancy prices, but around about...
Yeah, he's still around about 10 now. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair.
Okay, one of the reasons, Mick, why people love the jumps racing, of course, is because you get the horses returning year after year. We've got plenty of old favourites here in the Stayers series.
Yeah, we have, and some of them at decent prices as well. I'm just keen to get Keel's and your view on a horse called Stargazer of Phil Kirby's. And this horse has been running well on the all-weather. He's actually a lot lower on the grass, and he's quite a big price. Do you give him any chance?
I tell you what, Fitzy, I've done some dough on Stargazer. I think there's probably this winter as well. He's probably well named, actually. He came from Stouts, didn't he? But because he comes there, you think you're going to collect, and he probably does have a little look at the stars when he's asked.
My initial thought when he mentioned that was Thinker.
Well, yeah,
straight away. But I mean, he's probably reasonably treated if he wants to put it all in.
He's an outstanding target trainer as well, isn't he, Phil Kirby?
That was very good, yeah.
Yeah, fair to say. So Stargazer, is it for you, Mick?
Yeah, I think at an each way bet, yeah, definitely he's the one. I think he'll run well, but I can see where you guys are coming from. I do think that horse looks like it's been laid out. All right, Sunshine.
Well, we're blinded by the sunshine. Mick, he's gazing at the stars. Let's get some big calls for you then in the studio. And Kills, I think we better let you have the floor this time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to rant about it because I spent a lot of time last night ranting on Twitter about it. But this syndicate owning horses and shunting them out, selling 0.002 of a share at 75 quid for a horse that's going to run in the Grand National. I mean,
this is Potter's Corner.
Yeah. They're selling it as an ownership experience, all right? And it's as far away from ownership as you could possibly get. Right. And they say you get a share in prize money. I mean, one share will win you £7.50 if it wins the Grand National. Why not just tell the truth and say, look, this is a racing club with an interest in one horse. You're going to get an email letter telling you how well it is, how well it's worked. blah, blah, blah. You have an outside chance of winning some owners' badges and be an owner for a day when you can go back racing. But I mean, let's face it, they got 3,000 shares on offer, which is selling 6% of their share of the horse for 225 grand. It looks terrible value to me, but don't sell it. But whatever it is, don't sell it as ownership. It is not ownership. It is nowhere near ownership. Just sell it as be a member of a racing club. Then people, people are going to buy into it anyway because the Grand National is coming up. But it doesn't sit well with me.
So they've marketed it badly, of course.
It just leaves a bad taste. I mean, it just looks like we can make an awful lot of money out of this very quickly.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of syndicates, I've got to say. And there will, of course, be people out there that were saying, I just want the interest. And with the National coming up, if that's as close as you can get. But when you come to the numbers, Kills has definitely got a point. Mick, of course, this is something close to your heart.
Yeah, it is. I've got a racing club. And, we have the one thing, like Keels has hit the nail on the head here. Just sell it for what it is. And, it's an ownership experience, I think is probably the best way to put it. And look, there is an affordable way for people to get involved in racing. And yes, it sparks interest. And if you get a taste for it and you like it, you might then buy your own horse. Look, I'm all for that. But at the same time, I think make things transparent. Let people see exactly where the money's going. And then they can make up their own minds. I think they've brought in new rules for racing clubs now and syndicates, and I think that's only a good thing because the last thing you want to do is sour people on their first experience. You need people to be able to see what they're getting involved in, what they're going to get for their money, and after that, it's up to them.
I don't think there's anything underhand here. I think they have made it transparent, apart from calling it an ownership experience, which it palpably isn't.
Some people moaning about the VAT side of things as well, aren't they?
That is my thing. It's just, you're not an owner. You are in no way, shape or form an owner. You have an interest in a club that has an interest in a horse. Right? You are never going to, they're saying get a share of the prize money. Well, you're not going to get a share of the prize money. Right? In fact, their own terms and conditions, you can only withdraw any money if you get 20 quid out. So the horse has got to win the National 3 times. You know what I mean? It's just, it's just not quite right. It's not sold or packaged correctly to me.
We've had Stargaze, I think, that Potter's Corner could be called Stratosphere, couldn't it? Stratospheric, it is the price that they put up for him. Mick, while I've got you, I really fancy one for the Topham next week. It's going to be my big call, Caribbean Boy. I know I'm not alone on this. He was a massive eye catcher after a messy start in his run at Cheltenham. This looks like a horse that Nicky's got perfect for the Topham to me.
Yeah, well, the same colours won the race, didn't they, with Maffey Ewell a few years ago. Very, very good jumper. Yeah, I can certainly see where you're coming from with that. It wouldn't be the worst shout in the world, and a horse who is a relative novice, so it seems like that's the way to go with a lot of these handicaps now. Before the handicappers got a chance to really assess your capabilities, strike while you can.
Absolutely, yeah, love that. So we're getting excited about that. Kill's got
a 2-year plan for Live, Love, Laugh for that.
He's had a 10-year plan, hasn't he, to actually win a race, I think, hasn't he? Live like every time.
Yeah, I know, but you saw the way he went round the National a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and you're fairly close to connections.
Well, I said to Joe Chambers afterwards, you've got to run him in the Topham, and it was all next year it's going to happen, and then, of course, we missed it. And,
right.
And he's such an eye-catching race last time. Not going to get much of a price now anyway.
Probably
you
not.
know what I mean? But I do think he's going to run a massive race.
Oh, word to the Topham. Can't wait a week off from the national meeting. Pat Cooney, give us a big call.
Yeah, I just was thinking, I was just looking at the stats in recent days, and typically, with Aidan O'Brien, you always say with Aidan O'Brien horses, it's not a problem. We get them beat in March, we get them beat in April. May onwards, it gets a bit trickier for us, and certainly towards the end of the year. But I was just looking at his flat stats in Ireland so far this year. He's had 10 runners and 7 winners. So if they're going to get better, then this could be a real warning shot to everyone. He could be having a sensational season. He's got Guinea's favourites, Derby's favourites, of course, but he's got off to that quick start. And the other thing I was thinking of, Benoit de la Sayette, he won the Lincoln for John Gosden, really won for Fitzy, really. He claims this invaluable £7, which is going to be gold dust going forward. Do you think John Gosden's going to let him have outside rides, or would he rather have Benoit still claiming 7 for these Royal Ascot handicaps and Ebors and so forth? Is it going to be straightforward? He's going to ride loads of winners. Well, if I was Mr. Gosden, I'd be locking him up in the stables.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they manage his career well. because, we've all seen it happen too often. A lot of apprentices fly through their claim and then, they don't have anywhere to go after that. If you do it right and you time it right, an opening is there when you finish. Well, at the moment, a lot of those good jobs are locked up, and he would be much better off learning his craft. There's no doubt he's a very big talent, and I think they'll manage it, and I think they'll be very keen to use that claim in some of those big handicaps.
Benoit de la Sayet, then, his father, then a friend of Frankie Dettori. Could we be see a star in its ascendancy? Right then, let's go to Fairyhouse. It's the start of Easter. It's the start of the Irish Grand National meeting. A brilliant card over there. It always is. Lots of horses. We've seen the chess pieces are being moved. They're going to go to Punchestown instead. But the big race itself looks absolutely cracking. And Friday morning, when we're recording this, in comes the news. Tiger Roll heads to Aintree, not for the National. Unbelievable. He'll be going over the Mile May fences instead. No humble pie if he wins, says Michael O'Leary. That opens the race right up, of course, Kills.
Yeah, no, it was the idea of running Tiger Roll there was to prove the handicapper wrong, apparently. So, I mean, I don't get it. But
Madness.
But there you go. No, the Irish National is always a cracking race, isn't it? And it's going to be really, really competitive. The big buzz horse has been Sempo for the last couple of weeks with the Irish lads. I mean, I think two of our Irish tipsters have tipped it anti-post separately on consecutive days last week at 33s and 20s, and he's about sevens now. So there's a massive buzz around him. He's been running, and we ran over 2 mile last time. But if you remember, Papillon won an Irish National and a National, having gone over short trips, and he's certainly bred for a trip too.
Yeah,
he's a player. I still think there's a big race in Discordantly. Of Jesse Harrington's. Now he looked to be going really well. Then got outpaced. Then ran on again at Cheltenham. Finished sixth of Vintage Clouds in the Ultima, and he was travelling really, really well when he came down 5 out in the Grand National Trial at Punchestown over 3.5. So I think he's got a big, big run in him. There's plenty in there to have, and obviously latest exhibition keeps running at the backside of Monkfish, who everyone thinks is a really, really serious horse, who is a really, really serious horse at a proper Gold Cup contender, and he's running off 153. That might not be a bad handicap mark for him, even given a big weight.
He'll be trying to do a Burrows Saint, of course, who goes in the big one at Aintree next week. Yeah, you mentioned Sempo, hugely eye-catching in the Flying Bolt last time. He wants this trip. Surprising. The big dog's in there, Mick, as well, isn't he? What catches your eye?
Oh, look, it's very hard to get away from latest exhibitions form. I actually spoke to Paul Nolan before Cheltenham, and he said, you know what? He said, I'm sick of looking at Monkfish's backside. And he said, so is this horse. He said he deserves a chance at a big prize with no Monkfish. And like, if you just even go back to the Albert Bartlett that this horse ran in, you know, the quality in that race with Time Hill in there as well, that's very, very strong form. He's a decent jumper. And I just think that, you know, Keels has hit the nail on the head. I think his handicap mark is fair. And I think this could be his real chance. We saw Jesse Harrington do it with a novice a few years ago. And I just saw another one. Dermot McLaughlin's horse in here, opposite to track, is another one who, you know, doesn't have that much experience, but I think he's one that is not badly handicapped. He's right down at the bottom of the weights, and if that horse runs, I think he could be very interesting at a price.
I just wonder whether he's the sort of horse that might actually light up the better the race he gets into opposites attract. Pat Cooney then, Tiger Roll out, market all over the place, I imagine.
Yeah, it has been a lively market anyway, though. Sempo, as we've touched on, has been well supported. Interesting to see. Punters in recent years have tended to get with these unexposed novices. And you look at recent winners who've been well-back favourites. Shut the Front Door in 2014. Our Duke when he trotted up at 2017. And Burrows Saint won it as a 6-year-old last year. So that seems to be the way punters look at it with the stats and so forth. I'm probably going to go the other way and think the big dog might be value. And I think as we muse Jamie Codd's ears, really. It looked like he was going to be in the sauna bath all over Easter, trying to get down to a low weight to ride the horse. But with the weights going up, Jamie Codd, he won the Punchestown Grand National Trial last time he ran. The handicapper saw it. I think he went up £9 for the run. But you're back in a thorough stayer with an excellent jockey aboard. He's one of a host with a solid chance in the race. But people do like these unexposed novices, that's for sure.
I do. So that's 5 o'clock then, an Easter Monday treat. A triple Michelin star class appetizer for the National next week. Let's bring the guys at myracing.com then. Check out their website, expert tips and analysis. They like to weigh in with a juicy double for you each weekend, and we've got one. Look no further than the 205 at Haydock, over hurdles Shantou Express for Team Bailey, whiz up to Musselburgh 225, Colonel Faulkner. He can take this out for the all-conquering team of Holly Doyle and Archie Watson. Weekend winner time. I'm just going to get out of the way. Queen's Cup 335. All right, Sunshine will do for me. Paul Kealy.
Yeah, I think there might have been a minor rick in the opening race on ITV, the 150 at Musselburgh. Favourite is Stone Soldier, who's been winning loads on the all-weather at Southwell, but he's £9 higher than when he last ran on turf, and he's drawn in stall 10. None of the first two have been drawn higher than 4 in any of the 3 runners of this race. And in stall 4 is Munterdab, who has won a race at Musselburgh, twice been beaten in photos off much higher marks, including second time out last year when he was running off 87 under Ben Curtis and was 15-8 favourite. He was 33-1 yesterday. He's into about 20s now. I think he'll end up shorter than that. Ben Curtis is back on, and he had that one run at Southwell. Now, that smacked of a pipe opener for the start of the season, because he's a 9-year-old having a debut at Southwell. It's just, no thanks. Like, you know what I mean? So he's fit now, he's got a decent draw, and he runs well at the track.
Lovely, compelling case on kills then, 2 at Musselburgh so far. Mick Fitzgerald.
I'm going on Saturday to Haydock, and I'm going to go for the Bay Birch in the 350 in that Challenger Series Mayor's Chase final. She's won off this mark, doesn't mind a bit of decent ground, and I think she'll win.
Not of approval from you. You're a big fan of hers, aren't you?
Ludicrously well handicapped horse last time in Espoir de Rome, and actually ran quite well. And might be a bigger price than she should be just because she got thumped.
Yeah, she jumped into a potential Grade 1 horse there. Okay, Pat Cooney, complete the quintet.
Yes, 5:15 Fairy House, the bumper, and there's some horses that put together some impressive runs, but the form book just screams one horse and one horse only. Let's Be Clear About It is the name. 4 races, 2 wins, won them impressively. 2 seconds. The seconds were to Sir Gerhardt and Kilcrut. So this is a drop-in company tomorrow. On the face of it, you think, well, it'll be short price favourite, but some of these other horses come from powerful stables and they have that flashy win. But the form book says, let's be clear about it. So I'm going to be clear about it with this one.
Brilliant. That's a 4-timer then, another stable star potentially from Gav Cromwell's. Well, that's all we've got time for here on What a Shout this week. It has been a pleasure. Mick, thanks for joining us.
Really enjoyed it, lads. Thanks.
Are you going up to Aintree next week, Mick?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I'm not that tall, but I actually feel quite tall when I walk in that place.
I'm not surprised. What a superb treat that's been to have Mick Fitzgerald joining us then. And it has been Paul Kealy. Keen to get off for your tea time, I think.
I'm going to miss my tea time, mate. No good at all. I was hoping to get a beer in first as well.
As long as it's not Guinness, we'll be fine. Pat Cooney, thanks for joining us as ever.
Yeah, the only tea time I'm worried about is what food I'm going to eat.
You and me both, Pat. You and me both. Okay, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to keep getting your questions in for the panellists. Give your feedback. Who wins that mythical champion chase? Loads of debates, syndicates, everything we want to know down below. Of course, don't forget to download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do that on the Google's Play Store or the App Store itself. Don't forget, safe gambling. National coming up next week. Take it easy. Lots of targets. And until then, we'll be back next time this week. Enjoy the sport.